Welcome to my played games of 2023. Now, you might find that a weird way to phrase it, as it's usually top 10 games of 2023, best games of 2023, the best game of 2023. But honestly, I'm not sure I can write that list this year. So I decided I would go through the games that I actually played this year and follow up with my personal favourite game of the year. So let's get started. To kick things off, we had the release of Hogwarts Legacy, a game that I think a lot of people have been waiting to play, especially those fans of Harry Potter, for a very long time. Now, obviously, there is some baggage when you talk about Hogwarts Legacy, but as a fundamental fan of the art of Harry Potter and not the artist, this game was a fantastic adaptation of these books, and a hell of a lot of work had gone into recreating the true theme and presence of what it meant to walk through the walls of Hogwarts. And yes, the map was probably too big and we could have lost a lot of the lower map and just focused more within the Forbidden Forest and within Hogwarts itself, and maybe even kept Quidditch in. At the end of the day, this was still a great game. I had a lot of fun with this, and I actually played it a hell of a lot, which for me sometimes with games doesn't always happen. Next on the list we have Star Wars Jedi Survivor. Now this game had a very rocky start, like some people just could not play it at all, and it's always a real shame when games are released in a completely untested state of play, and it was a real shame because I think it actually knocked a lot of people's view of this game. Now, playing on PlayStation 5, I was able to have a manageable experience with the game. I did have a few visual issues here and there, but I could still kind of ignore them and focus on the story. However, unfortunately with this game, I didn't get as gripped as the first game got me. I think it really fell into that troublesome Part 2, Episode 2 issue of games and movies where the second game always seems to just not be really there. And I definitely felt that with this game, and unfortunately I actually don't even think I've properly left the first main planet that you land on. I've done a lot of little side missions and explorations, but sadly Cal's just sat in that diner on the main base planet and I haven't really done much on it, and I can't really feel like I'm going to be playing that anytime soon. I did sort of have this issue with Fallen Order where I played quite a lot of it and then just stopped and then didn't play it for maybe about a year, and then I went back and just completed it. But I did also see a lot of similar experiences on the Reddit page where people were purposely completely dropping the difficulty down and playing on the lowest difficulty to just complete the story. And honestly, I think if I picked up that game right now, that's exactly what I would do just to get the story, because as much as I like the Dark Styles style of gaming where it's a little bit unforgiving and you do have to be careful, you can't just hack and slash your way through, I still feel like sometimes that can take over a little bit and then you forget that there is a main story to be played here and that's what you should be following. So tricky one, but definitely had some promise, and unfortunately I think the shoddy release kind of affected that quite a bit. Now probably my most played game of 2023 will be The Sims 4. I have always been a little bit of a simmer. I did get Sims 4 on release date back in 2014, and I've picked it up here and there and played a little bit and then probably uninstalled it and gone on to something else. But this year in particular, I have definitely embraced becoming a simmer a lot more, and I've experimented with a lot more mods, a lot more different styles of playing. I've tried a few challenges as well, and I have wanted to do some for this channel, and I think I'm going to throw that into next year's work and how I want to do a few more videos on the Sims content, because I do really enjoy it, and I definitely have enjoyed kind of putting more time into Sims and actually developing stories. I used to have a really bad habit of deleting the save and just starting again, but this time I've really just been well no, I'm kind of going to pause that character right now for a bit and I'm going to go and set up a new character and put them in the same world and kind of just watch how they all interact. And it's been really fun. And honestly, if you are aware of, the simming community, you'll know that Sims 4 and 3, and to be quite honest with you, any other Sims game, can often be very comforting, and they can just be that game that you just go to when you just want to take a moment and chill out. So Sims 4 has been very fun this year, and I've enjoyed it a lot. A little bit more of a recent game now, with Spider-Man Remastered and Miles Morales. So these are games that I got really early on with my PlayStation 5. I've had my PlayStation 5 a couple of years now, and I got these games, and again, really slow to get through them. But because of Spider-Man 2 being out this year, I thought it would be a good idea to just get through these games and play them and complete them, as well as, the DLC with Spider-Man Remastered. And they've been fantastic. I mean, I think I spent so long on Spider-Man Remastered just swinging through New York at one point because it was just so fun and relaxing. I thought the stories for both games, the Spider-Man Remastered and Miles Morales, were both very well written as well. I felt like the Miles Morales ending was a little bit meh, like it was kind of very forced for, the kind of character to be the bad guy at the end. And I also felt like that final boss mission was really badly scripted. Like, I felt like I got the upper hand multiple times, but then it was like, oh no, we want this to last longer, so we're just gonna stop you doing that now. So I was a little bit frustrated with that final mission, but it was still a good ultimate ending. And I feel like from that, it kind of gave you the whole, Miles Morales and who he is as Spider-Man, and that's always good because I do like Miles. So overall, I couldn't complain too much. Now this is certainly an interesting one, Starfield. Boy oh boy, can we say some stuff on this game. And in all fairness, I really wanted to put together a video on Starfield as a whole, but every time I load up YouTube, there's a new video and version of that video. So I got to a point where there's like, is there any point of just putting more noise on what everyone already knows about Starfield, which is that it was a game that hasn't changed with the time. It's still very old-fashioned. The combat is lacking, and it's just the same old, but they've hyped it up to be this massive new thing, but it just isn't. And it's such a shame because there's still elements of Starfield that are very specifically Bethesda that you can't help but like. And it is a bit of a shame because I have fully stopped playing this, and I can't remember exactly where I've got to. I've done quite well, I think, and I've done a few of the main stories, and I do want to complete it on Xbox Series X, but I do regret buying it on Xbox just because I think that this game has to be played on PC because it needs to have the mod support. It's gonna need the new kind of fixes and changes from mods that make the game just so much better. Hopefully, anyway. I mean, fingers crossed. Like, if it doesn't, then this really will be a flop. And I actually saw it in the game shop earlier, and it's already going for like £42, which for a brand new Xbox Series X, new generation game, that's really low. So yeah, don't want to add too much more noise to it, but Starfield definitely was disappointing. Now, if you've seen any little thumbnails from my channel, you may know and could possibly predict I'm going to talk about this game, Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty. Obviously, this is a DLC, so it's hard to kind of rate this as a game in itself. However, it certainly deserves to be on the list this year. I had an absolute blast with this DLC, and there was so much content packed into it, and obviously one of the main things for this DLC was that it was going to affect the endings and provide us with new endings, so it's fairly weighty when you consider that as a DLC. You don't usually have DLC that fundamentally affects the way the base game will end. So, all the kind of little nuances that you can, discover And even just the fact that it was Cyberpunk 2.0 as well, like that was a big deal in itself. I just, yeah, I had loads of fun. I always really liked Cyberpunk 2077 when it came out. Obviously, it was a mess, like it just was, but it still had a lot of good stuff about it, and there was always that element of potential there. The issue is when you deliver a product, you don't buy the potential, do you? You buy what it is. So obviously you're going to upset people. But I think Cyberpunk as it is now is a great game, and it's definitely one of my favourite games now, probably of all time. I've just loved what's happened, and I was really pleased that they got that game award for the best ongoing game, because I think they really did deserve that. They've done a lot of hard work, and I would happily say it's come from full circle now, but hopefully they don't make the mistakes again. Now, I did want to do an honourable mentions for my played games as well, for one specific game and another kind of generalisation. So the first honourable mention is Baldur's Gate 3. Obviously, everyone knows about Baldur's Gate 3, it's done incredibly well. The issue is that I haven't really sat down and properly played it yet. I really, every time I've gone into it, I've always not had enough time to really sit and get into it. It's kind of like DayZ. DayZ is still a great game that I do love, but the problem is you can't play it for an hour. You've got to play it for a solid session, and I think Baldur's Gate has that, not problem, but kind of preference to play. So I think Baldur's Gate 3 is definitely up there, but I want to sit down and properly get into it. As a matter of fact, I actually think it would be a good idea for me to play that with people, as that might help that experience a bit more. And secondly, I play a lot of games known as visual novels, and this stems back quite a long time actually, from when I did small little reviews for various websites to showcase a game, or give it a little bit of a light, or just offer another opinion. And I've often gone back and played a few of them, because for me the good thing with visual novels is how, because they're somewhat very basic from like a UI point of view, the choices are very important, and I like that, and I like knowing, oh, okay, well I did that this time, so if I do this, what will happen? And I've always enjoyed that kind of, what is the little choice I make that has a big impact or a small impact, and figuring that out and kind of mapping that to however it's been coded. So I don't always talk about them on the channel. I may also put this forward as something new for the new year, because there are quite a few that are really good, and it would be nice to get them going. I don't know how I'd really do them though, but yeah, that's just something I do usually think about when I do something like this, and it does make me realise actually I've played them quite a lot this year, so I probably should use them in some format as well. Spider-Man 2. Now, obviously I've already mentioned that I purposely made sure I'd play Spider-Man Remastered and Miles Morales this year in preparation for this game, and I'm glad I did. Spider-Man 2 has been really fun to play with. I think when it was first announced that you'd be like kind of switching between the two, I was a little bit humming and ahhing about how that would work and if it would work, or would you feel like maybe you'd want to play one more than the other. But I think they nailed it. I think they got it really well done, and I've loved the suits in this game have been fantastic. I love that you can actually pick a suit and then also change the colour of it, because there's been some great variations in what you can choose. I have enjoyed the power-ups as well. Miles has been super powerful. As a matter of fact, at one point I actually thought, I don't think we need Venom, because Miles can just take care of it all. I have enjoyed the story. I have enjoyed how it, the symbiote has affected Pete and how that's been shown, and I have enjoyed the way that they're pushing the story going forward. Obviously, it was a lot of the same thing from before, and I personally think that's fine. I enjoyed the first couple of games, so why would I not enjoy them this time round? But I do understand that a lot of people kind of because of that, we're just like, oh yeah, it's just a little bit more story, which is, totally fair enough to feel that way. I have enjoyed some of the new, fighting, not necessarily mechanics, but kind of new animations, I guess, and new combos that you can put together. And I always try to play in a certain way, that because sometimes I feel like when you keep just button mash for ages, eventually it kind of looks a little bit rubbish. But I've always enjoyed trying to have that, oh, the camera's rolling, like let's put on a show kind of spectacular for Spider-Man. I think it always gives you that action hero shot that we always kind of love seeing in a comic book. So if I had to pick out my number one for the year, honestly, I'd have to say Hogwarts Legacy. And of course, it goes without fail to say that I do fully support trans rights and I do not support the views shared by J.K. Rowling. But this game just did it so well. It was everything that I've always wanted when it comes to a Hogwarts Harry Potter adaptation in a video game format. Obviously, the RPG elements were very linear and very A/B options, and it didn't feel like there was massive implications for what you were doing. But as a fundamental fan of the series, this is like the closest you can get to walking the halls of Hogwarts and feeling the environment. And just, I think a few times I would just walk and just look and just be like, gosh, it would be really good to have this in VR and just kind of walk around and enjoy it. And obviously there have been, quite a number of Harry Potter games, and some of them, weren't too bad, but I think this was the one that we'd all wanted to have, where we could create our own person and put them through the sorting hat and then kind of just do Hogwarts and learn and study. And I do really think they hit the nail on the head with the, the usual press start to find a quest and, pick your abilities and put it all under the school book of, well, here's your lessons. Oh, you found that many kind of collectibles and here's your spells. And it worked really well with having the school book as your abilities tree, and that was quite a nice touch. So overall, I'd say I've had a pretty moderate gaming year. I think it's something I want to pick up more in the new year and really get into some of those indie titles that I see, and maybe even include some of the visual novels I play, and ideally make it a bit of a monthly thing to look at new games and upcoming releases, but we'll see. This year, I think, has been really interested in making content for YouTube. I've enjoyed doing it, but I will say it's no easy task, and hats off to those that can do multiple videos a week, because it truly is a skill. So make sure to like and comment on your favourite channels, because they really deserve it. That will be all from me though, and I think that may be all from me for this year. I would definitely like to say a big thank you for anyone who has watched any of my videos, and I hope you have a very happy holiday season and new year, and with that, have a great day.